This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Maria Taylor alongside Devin, McCourty, and Jason Garrett, and Mike Florio back in his cave, but still with us to break down what we saw in Week 4. Florio, I'll start with you, and I'm going to start on a little bit more on a negative side because I don't know why, but I feel like you would enjoy talking about that. The Cowboys and the Patriots. Bill Belichick handed the worst loss of his coaching career. What do you make of what we're seeing from the Patriots through 4 weeks of play?
I couldn't believe it when I first heard that 38-3 was the worst loss ever. When you consider all the games he's coached over the years, but he doesn't lose many, and he never lost one like he lost it today. And this is what happens when the Cowboys are clicking. They get on top of you early, and then it's an avalanche. You have to withstand that barrage early to have a chance to beat the Cowboys. And we've seen it happen 3 out of 4 weeks now. If they can get rolling, you've got no chance when you are physically overmatched like the Patriots were going against the Cowboys. So I think it's that simple. If you cannot find a way to weather that storm right out of the gates, you have no shot, and you have to just forget about it and move on to the next game, because a lot of teams are going to have what happened to the Patriots happen to them this season.
Jason?
Yeah, you got to settle the Cowboys down on defense. I agree with Mike. Early part of the game is critical. Running the football is critical. Quarterback runs are critical. If you just let them get up the field and rush the passer, it's going to be a nightmare. You're not going to be able to block them. The quarterback is going to be playing with too fast a clock. He's going to make bad decisions. He's going to throw the ball to the other team. So I think it's important to play well early and find a way to settle them down. The best way to do that is to run the football at them.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, the Cowboys took advantage of a New England Patriots secondary that was missing 3 of their top corners. And then Christian Gonzalez, probably their best corner and one of the best defensive players on that team, he goes down in the game. So I thought the Cowboys did a good job. They've run the ball really well this season, but they say, you know what? We see a weakness. We're going to attack it. And they came out throwing the ball, and that put more pressure on the New England Patriots offense to go try to produce. And once you do that, you give those pass rushers and everybody else a chance to be great.
You know, and a lot of people have been talking about Dak Prescott's interceptions last year. I've coached a lot of guys. I'm not so sure I've coached a more coachable player than Dak Prescott. If you shine a light on something that, hey, Dak, we have to address this, I mean, he goes to work at it. And we've seen that early on in the season. His decision-making has been flawless. Really, really impressive. It'll be challenged again against the 49ers next week.
Yeah, decision-making maybe not as flawless for Mac Jones, Florio. He had 3 turnovers in this matchup. Bill Belichick saying, though, that's our quarterback, that's our guy. We took him out at the end. We saw Bailey Zappi, but no, he's going to be our starter in Week 5 as well.
Yeah, and look, Mac Jones has had some rough outings, and last year the excuse was, and it was justifiable, Devin was there to live through it. The offensive coordinating fiasco between Matt Patricia and Joe Judge just didn't work. This year that excuse is gone. It's on Mac Jones to come out there and perform well, and it's not happening. And I wonder, Devin, you know, from your perspective, do you think Mac Jones is in trouble of getting benched, even though Bill Belichick says no?
Yeah, I don't think he's in trouble. I think for that offense, they have to find answers, and they have to find them right away. September's always tough. In New England, Coach Belichick always talked about that. We're still finding ourselves. We're still growing. But we also used to talk about finding ways to still win some of those games in September. And offensively, they're just not doing it. I know today a lot fell on Mac, some of the decision-making, late throws, holding on to the ball with 2 hands. But if you go throughout the early part of the season, it hasn't all been him. Other guys need to step up. The offensive line needs to continue to play better. But, you know, I think when you're the quarterback of any team, especially the New England Patriots, if it's not going well, you're going to shoulder a lot of the blame.
Yeah, it's a team sport. They got to get better on the offensive line. They got to run it better. The guys outside got to make plays. Mac Jones is not capable of putting the New England Patriots on his shoulders. That's just not the kind of player that he is. So they got to find different ways to do it. They certainly have to play much better on defense as well. You know, they haven't been close. They beat the Jets. They're 1-3, and they beat the Jets. Have they beaten how many times?
15 straight times
15
now.
15 straight. You know, so there's a lot of question marks up there in New England beyond just the quarterback position.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills. And I think the question I have coming out of that one, because it was such a complete game by the Bills, was what impressed you more, the offense or the defensive performance?
For me, it was a defense. For Buffalo, I thought they would struggle a little bit because of their team speed on defense. I thought if Miami could get the ball in Hill's hand or Waddle's hand, they'd be able to run by the guys on Buffalo. But I thought they did a great job of, hey, this is our leverage. We're outside in or we're inside out. I know where my teammate is. He knows where I am. We're going to bottle the ball up, not let up the big plays or the run after catch, not let Mostert or Achane get going. And I thought that was the key to Buffalo's defense being able to be successful all throughout the game for 60 minutes.
There's no doubt. But when you put that tape on, they leaped off the tape at you with their physicalness and their speed and their downhill nature, and then to be able to prevent the big plays. But I loved how Josh Allen played into that. It was complementary football. It wasn't Josh putting Buffalo on his shoulders. It was playing high percentage throws. When he had a chance to make some plays down the field, he did that. They ran it well. He spread the ball around. It was a great team win. And if they play like that, they're a hard team to beat.
Well, let's do it from the Miami side. Mike, what did you see from the Dolphins after we saw that historic performance, the 70 points, just breaking every single record, to being held to 20 as they go up to Buffalo?
Well, at first it looked like both teams were going to score 70 today. It was up and down the field. It was like a tennis match. And then once the Bills broke serve one time, that was it. I just think that going into Buffalo, the week after scoring that many points, putting the Bills on extra notice to be ready for this one, it was just going to be very hard for the Dolphins to go in there and do anything like they did last week, because the Bills, after having that horrible performance week one, that woke them up, and they've gotten better and better each week, and it's been a total team performance each week. We've seen more from the running game. We've seen more from Gabe Davis. We've been waiting for a receiver other than Stephon Diggs to wake up, and Gabe Davis has finally done that. The defense has gotten better and better, and Coach Sean McDermott pushed the right buttons, pulled the right strings this week to get them to answer the bell, and they just found a way to put the clamps on the Dolphins just enough to break their back. There was that long play where Stephon Diggs had a foul that was called. It was illegal contact or something like that. He broke 2 tackles and ran for a touchdown. It was a 2-score game at that point, and it just felt like that was it for the Dolphins. And, you know, when the Bills go to Miami later this year, it may be the exact different outcome, and it could be they're destined to meet again in the postseason like they did last year, and whoever has home field advantage is going to have the edge.
It was fun, actually, watching Stephon Diggs celebrating with Bills Mafia, like pouring beer all over the place. He had 3 receiving touchdowns. But Josh Allen threw 5 touchdowns, only 4 incompletions in this game. And you always talk about, you know, Josh, and it's just like you just don't want him to have everything resting on his shoulders. It didn't seem like that at all in this matchup. He didn't feel like he had to beat the Dolphins by himself.
It's just amazing how much better you're going to execute when you don't feel like you have to do it all by yourself. When he had shots down the field, he ripped it. And when he didn't, throw the check down, throw it to the back, take some pressure off yourself. The NFL is hard. Playing quarterback in the NFL is hard. So if you can spread it around, you can play well. And if he has complimentary players stepping up like they did today, and then he's still their quarterback, capable of making those plays, they're tough now.
They got the run game going. You saw Latavius Murray, you saw James Cook. They were able to just turn around and say, Josh Allen, hand the ball off, watch these guys work. There's no better feeling when you're a quarterback and we can move offensively without either me running or throwing the ball. And I think if Buffalo can do that for the rest of the season, they got to be one of the favorites in the AFC.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about the overtime win that really the Eagles had to eke out at home against the Commanders. And Florio, I feel like we've been in this situation before as we're in week 4. We're like, oh, crap, oh, crap, oh, crap. Are the Eagles about to lose? It's like, oh, never mind. They figured it out. They won the game. I mean, what are we taking away from the slow starts, maybe the strong finishes that we're seeing from the Eagles?
They have such an easy start to the schedule. They've got some tough games coming up, but to get these wins when it feels like maybe they should have lost 1 or 2 of them at least, that just adds to the record and makes them stronger for when the tough games do come. And they are going to find some losses at some point, and they're going to correct some of these things. And last year, they lost to the Commanders fairly early in the season, so at least this year they found a way to win it. But to come out with a victory, even when you have flaws, that is better than having that game turn into a loss. So they're still sitting there 4-0. They've got the best team in the division, I think, on both sides of the ball. They just have to put it all together. And if they can still win when they're not putting it all together, if they ever can put it all together, they're going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, and I think for them, you got to continue to do that. It's not always easy to do that, but you got to continue to show up, perform, be consistent with everything that you're doing. But like you said earlier, it's a National Football League.
It's pro football now. I mean, it's hard to win. You know, I was really impressed with how they played today. The thing that gives them consistency offensively are those guys up front. You know, they can control the line of scrimmage. They can run it. Today, they had a good running day. They had a great passing day just because of how Washington was playing against them. And then Jalen Hurts continues to come up with the big plays in the big moments. The defense wasn't quite as good. Sam Howell did a nice job for Washington. They're getting better and better on offense. But at the end of it, they got too many good players on that defense, and they're going to get better as the season goes on.
And you said it in the screening room. good teams find a way to win. And when you watch Philadelphia week in and week out, they find a way to win. Some people watching at home say, why are these games so close? They should build. They don't care about that. They say we find a way to get a W in that win, like in the win column, and that's what matters the most.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts found a way to get it to A.J. Brown the entire day. 9 receptions, 175 yards, couple touchdowns. It was really working between the two of them, so they walk away with the win. Some great numbers for A.J. You got to feel good. Let's talk about Denver and Chicago, two teams like battling to get their very first win. And I think, Devin, we saw a great game from Justin Fields. There were mistakes for sure, but he threw 4 passing touchdowns, and that's a career high for him. And you almost hate to see a loss after the performance we've been waiting for offensively for the Bears.
Yeah, we saw the shot of him on the sideline, just dejected, like head down. Because when you have a game like that, you're like, we just got to win. We got to find a way to win. And we just said it. Good teams find a way to win. Teams that are not as good, they have to learn how to do that. They have to learn how to make the key plays in the game. So now the pass of Cole Kmet at the end, we're not a little off where you're turning out and I'm throwing inside, but we're right on the money. The drive's continuing. But that takes time. You have to build that confidence. You have to rep that week in, week out in practice, then do it in training camp. So I think for Justin Fields, they still have a chance to have a good team this year, but that process isn't always as easy as people think sitting at home on the couch.
Yeah, and when you're one of 2 0-3 teams going against each other, you say to yourself, this is our opportunity, right? Denver felt like it was their opportunity. Chicago felt like it was theirs. Chicago controlled this game. They really did well into the second half. The big play was the sack fumble where Denver returns it for a touchdown. But if you're a Chicago fan, you have to be impressed with what Justin Fields did. You have to be disappointed in your defense that they couldn't slow Denver down at the critical moments in the game. Both of these teams are trying to rebuild. So for Denver, this is a big win, shows a little fight. They didn't show a lot of fight against Miami last week. I'm sure that was a talking point for the coaching staff, and they responded well today.
What was your takeaway, Mike?
Well, we went to Chicago for the first game of the season back in 2019, and I love Chicago, and it feels like it deserves a much better team than it has. And it's amazing how bad this team has been, but for 1985 and a couple of years after that, and every once in a while, like 2006 when they got to the Super Bowl, but they're just not competitive. Now, obviously they were ahead today by 21 points before they blew it, but to be 0-4 and to just have this feeling of dysfunction that permeates the entire organization, I don't know at what point they clean house. I don't know if Matt Eberflus makes it through the end of the season. It just feels like they need to do something. But I don't know what you can do. What can you do at this point to make it better? And at one point, do you just accept, you know what we are, and we've got our first-round pick, and we've got Carolina's first-round pick next year, and Carolina's not good either, and we're going to get 2 great players, and maybe next year's the year we finally lay the foundation to turn it around. It's just depressing. If I'm a Bears fan, I don't know how I continue to be a Bears fan. What is there that keeps me coming back week in and week out, year in and year out? Memories of 1985 only last so long.
It's like being a Viking fan.
I was going to say, that's coming from a Vikings fan.
The memories from 1975. Chuck Foreman.
At least the Bears have a Super Bowl coach. They do have that.
Well, the Bears have lost 14 straight games, so you're right. And we even had the pictures in some of our highlights where they just had bags over their heads and it just said embarrassing. It's got to be difficult to watch the Broncos score 24 unanswered points to get the victory, but that's exactly what happened in Week 4. All right, coming up, we're going to head back out to the field at MetLife. Jack, Tony, and Rodney, they're going to break down our Week 5 matchup, which is a great one. Cowboys going on the road to take on the 49ers. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, and it's time for a little game of word association or phrase, because Jason Garrett doesn't like to give you just one word. You guys can also describe why you chose the word or phrase. Florio, we will always start with you. And up first is Brandon Staley's tush push on 4th down.
Don't listen to Keenan Allen. I know that's more than 1 or 2 words, but Devin mentioned it during the pregame show. Keenan Allen told me last week, hey, we should do that quarterback push play on 4th and short. When they did that play last week, didn't push the quarterback, handed it off, didn't work. This week they did it, but the problem is the quarterback's got a messed up hand. Like, I think you need to have a fully healthy quarterback if you're going to try that play. So maybe save it for a time when Justin Herbert isn't injured in some way. And also it helps to be the Eagles to work it to perfection.
Stop going for it on 4th down. Tush push, this play, that play.
Just stop.
Just get rid of it. We don't want the Chargers to go for it on 4th down anymore. We're tired of seeing it.
I agree with that. I think it is a good addition. Football comes down to execution. The low man wins.
Okay. What about Burrow and Bengals, their 1-3 start for you?
Confusing, because they've got all the talent that they need. Something's off there. Chris Sims talks about this on PFT Live, and I'm sure he talks about it on his Unbuttoned podcast as well, that the offense is too simple. They've got too many talented players. I don't know if Joe Burrow's calf is still bothering him, but, for as bad as the Titans looked last week and as good as the Bengals looked on Monday night, they flip-flopped 6 days later. So it's just a very confusing team right now because they can't say they don't have the talent.
I'm pushing the panic button. I think this team is a good football team. We've watched them over the last few years. There's no reason to be so inconsistent in a season. No matter what it is, you cannot perform like that, and I would push the panic button if I'm a Cincinnati fan.
What concerns me the most about them is they've lost their swagger. That quarterback, when he walks in, he has all the crazy outfits and the hair and the glasses and the whole thing. That guy has some swag about him.
Joe Cool.
Yeah, Joe Cool. He ain't playing with much swag right now, so they got to get that back.
Yeah. How about C.J. Stroud versus the Steelers, Mike?
Spectacular and underrated and overlooked. And I know that's 3 words, but that's what he is. And I think people are going to start to notice after beating the Steelers, after playing as well as he has, no interceptions yet, his numbers have been great, historic stuff. I think people need to pay attention to the fact that he's the best of the rookie quarterbacks so far. It's only 4 games in, but he has been so much better than the rest of them.
Houston, you don't have a problem.
Oh.
C.J. Stroud has been doing so many things well this year. Shows up against the Steelers defense that had been hot. T.J. Watt, Highsmith. He doesn't blink. Goes out there, has an awesome game, does it really for 60 minutes. They dominated that game today.
It's hard to find a quarterback. It's hard to pick them right, even when you have a high pick.
Yep.
The NFL history shows you that. And this guy is so mature. Watch him play. I mean, he's in the pocket. He's going through progressions. He's patient. When he gets a chance, he takes a shot. He hits them. So he sees them. He hits them and checks it down. He moves in the pocket. He's just so settled and mature. 4 games into his NFL career, he's a young guy playing on a team that hasn't been real good for a long time. Usually that guy, the second pick, he's getting killed, and you're impressed by his toughness. And now he's hanging in there. He's been off the charts in so many categories. I love the guy.
Credit to Nick Caserio and what they've built there. A lot of people didn't expect this, but this team looks like a good football team early on.
Texans fans look happy when you look at the stands. They were celebrating J.J. Watt. They got a home win. But, yeah, Stroud, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions so far, a couple 300-yard games, and the kid's a rookie. You guys talked about toughness. What about Matthew Stafford against the Colts, Florio?
I'll do 2 names instead of 1 word. He gets to the point where he's walking around like a combination of John Wayne and Fred Sanford. And we see that from him all the time, where it's all just kind of barely holding together, and he's limping, and it's all shaky, but he still gets it done. I thought he couldn't continue today the way he was hobbled around with that hip injury, and he just keeps coming. Nothing can keep him out of a game. He's already said he's playing next week, and I don't doubt that he will. He's been that way since he was a rookie. It's one of the reasons why it feels like the window's starting to close on him, because he's played through so much. He just keeps his mouth shut and he keeps going. It really is impressive.
Just another day at the office. We've watched Matt Stafford for years in Detroit, limping down the field, getting his head taken off, getting back up, throwing touchdowns. Only difference now is in Detroit, they lost a lot of those games. He's winning those games in L.A.
He sure is. The name that came to my mind was Kirk Gibson. If you guys remember Kirk Gibson, the great Dodger who was hurt, and he goes to the World Series, he limps up to the plate, and it's the game-winning home run. That's what it felt like. He's getting close to the end of his career. He still has a magical arm. But his toughness showed up today, made all the plays in the big moments. And you said it. Anybody who's followed football for a long time and watched this guy play, you have so much respect and admiration for him. We played against him. It's like, he's so good, but he's so tough. He's everything you want in a quarterback, and he demonstrated that again today.
Yeah, and he's a bulldog. So, honestly, you really can't go
Yes.
wrong with Matthew Stafford. Also, when you said Fred Sanford, all I can think was, I'm coming, Elizabeth. I'm coming, Elizabeth. Florio, thank you so much for, joining us. Not in studio, but we hope you're back for week 5, which brings up our last word association, our matchup. The Cowboys going on the road taking on the 49ers. If you had 1 word to preview this game, it would be what, Mike?
Spicy. It should be. But the 49ers are equipped to withhold and avoid that storm that the Cowboys will bring early, so it should go all the way down to the wire.
I would go, ah! That is what I think of when you think of the Cowboys in San Francisco. Physical, just playing tough football, some run games, some big hits. I think we'll get everything Sunday night.
It's really one of the great rivalries in NFL history. It goes way back, the catch, so many great games with the Niners in the 90s and since then. And it's going to be a fun night. I do think the Cowboys play better at home on the fast track. Yeah. Now they're going against a really good team on the grass. I think that slows them down a little bit. This game's going to be won on the line of scrimmage.
All right, well, either way it goes, we're going to be here to get you set. We're really excited about our Week 5 matchup. Florio, thanks for joining us. Devin, Jason will all be here with you for Football Night in America. It'll start at 7 Eastern as we get you set on NBC and Peacock. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.